All right, welcome to Charlie McGrath's Wide Awake News. It is March 14th, and time once again for Karen's Corner. I am rejoining the Wide Awake News team, and I'm happy to be back. Well, I guess I'm happy to be back, although I have to tell you that I thoroughly enjoyed taking a break and stepping completely away from having to understand and listen to all of the malfeasance that's going on out there. And I enjoyed myself for a while. Actually, how is the sound right now? Brett, I'm getting a lot of feedback in my headset. Am I coming out all right, or chatters? Unless I see a message, I'm just going to assume that I can be heard. Okay, I see that Brett's trying to talk to me right now. Okay, I'm fine, but I'll just put up with a headset malfunction in the background. Anyway, I really did like to step back, and after November, last December, I just turned off everything, and I pretty much enjoyed the time that we have, because I feel so much like our lives are like dancing on the edge of a razor blade with all the issues that are out there, including World War III, which is happening. You only need 2 countries for it to be declared a world war, and we've got so many countries now that we are involved in the background, the background and in malfeasance, that I just couldn't remain silent any longer. And I wanted the opportunity, though, to be able to share some news and to bring in some other strong, courageous women to share their research and to come back so that I don't have to be here every Friday, but at the same time, some of the hard-hitting information that we need to know and hear about will be shared with you. And so from now on, the first Monday of every month, Deborah Tavares of StopTheCrime.net will be here. And if you missed it last week, you can look it up by date. Go back in, I think it was March 7th, and listen to it. You can find the link to the archives on the homepage of Wide Awake News and also on the Rents radio station. On the second Friday of the month, I'm going to be taking it so that I can do what I can again to unite us. Because when you see the bigger picture, in the years that I have been trying to work for United We Strike, it's been very difficult to get people united and on the same page. And all of them who are invested in their areas are consumed with their projects, and rightly so. But I cannot decide which is most important to take action on, because all of them, in my opinion, need immediate attention. The war needs to be stopped. The radiation needs to be stopped. All nuclear plants need to be stopped. There are alternative sources of energy which we are not allowed to utilize. Those need to be brought to the front. So what I am going to do is try to just give us reasons to stand together and to unite and to use our far greater numbers and say no. And when I make sweeping statements now in terms of some of the so-called conspiracies and the information in their own words and documents where they're talking about depopulating and totally taking over our whole societies in terms of smart meters, with them are poisoning us on so many levels. People can go and listen to Deborah Tavares on Monday. Go to StopTheCrime.net. Find the documents. Now, next week, the third Fridays of the month, will be my friend Cindy Pakulis, who is a school teacher. She lives in New York. She is very much up to date on geoengineering, on climate control. She connects the dots. She knows where the money goes. She will be here next week, and then the fourth Friday of every month, we're going to get a global nuclear radiation update from Christina Consolo Radchick. And hello, I know you're listening out there. Thanks for tuning in tonight, Christina. Thank you to all of you who have tuned in tonight. There is so much that we don't know that is killing us. And I just cannot remain silent any longer, but at the same time, I can't let it drive me completely crazy. I'm happy to see folks in the chat room. Hi, Buddy. Hi, Radchick, Anons, Stant. I've got some information that I would like to read from tonight, because in terms of coming back, I've been told many times that I'm not clear enough when I talk about United We Strike and why we should stay home and how can we accomplish anything if we're staying home. And so I'd like to throw some ideas out there of some actions that we can take. And number one, I do think that there is so much going on that we don't know about, that if we actually stopped and took the time to either listen to some of this great research from our new hosts and including the old hosts, Gary, thanks to Gary who's here every Monday night, Dinah Everett Snyder on Tuesday nights, Charlie McGrath on Wednesday, Eric on Thursdays, and now rotating 4 different female hosts on Friday nights, as well as on the weekends or on the months when we have 5 Fridays in the month, we're going to have a live round table. And a lot of the voices will be women's voices, but we need the mothers, we need the women who look at their children and understand the severity of our problems. We need to unite. We need to become stronger. We need to fight for our children's health and for that of our families. And in order to do that, we've got to stop this corporate takeover of our food, our water, our land, our skies, our air, everywhere, everywhere. We need to stand as one. So it is to that case that in thinking of what we do, our marathon, our United We Strike marathon was last Saturday, and I was very inspired listening to Sheriff Mack being interviewed by Matt Navarro. The podcast is up on UnitedWeStrike.com. I want to encourage you to go there. And I did contact Sheriff Mack afterwards and said, now what if, because their COSPA, the police officers who are, let me get this up, the Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officer organizations, they passed a resolution in January. And it says, pursuant to the powers and duties bestowed upon us by our citizens, the undersigned do hereby resolve that any federal officer, agent, or employee, regardless of supposed congressional authorization, is required to obey and observe limitations consisting of the enumerated powers as detailed within Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The people of these United States are and have a right to be free and independent, and these rights are derived from the law of nature and nature's God. As such, they must be free from infringements on the right to keep and bear arms, unreasonable searches and seizures, capricious detainments, and every other natural right, whether enumerated or not, pursuant to the Ninth Amendment. We further affirm that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. The 10th Amendment. Furthermore, we maintain that no agency established by the U.S. Congress can develop its own policies or regulations which supersede the Bill of Rights or the Constitution, nor does the executive branch have the power to make law, overturn law, or set aside law. Therefore, in order to protect the American people, be it resolved that the following abuses will not be allowed or tolerated. 1. Registration of personal firearms under any circumstances. 2. Confiscation of firearms without probable cause, due process, and constitutionally compliant warrants issued by a local or state jurisdiction. 3. Audits or searches of a citizen's personal affairs or finances without probable cause and due process, and constitutionally compliant warrants issued by a local or state jurisdiction. 4. Inspections of person or property without probable cause and constitutionally compliant warrants as required by the Fourth Amendment and issued by a local or state jurisdiction. 5. The detainment or search of citizens without probable cause and probable due process compliance or the informed consent of the citizen. 6. Arrests with continued incarcerations without charges and complete due process, including but not limited to public and speedy jury trials in a court of state or local jurisdiction. 7. Domestic utilization of our nation's military or federal agencies operating under power granted under the laws of war against American citizens. And 8. Arrest of citizens or seizure of persons or property without first notifying and obtaining the express consent of the local sheriff. And be it further resolved that the undersigned sheriffs, peace officers, and other public servants do hereby denounce any acts or agencies which promote the aforementioned practices. All actions by the federal government and its agents will conform strictly and implicitly with the principles expressed within the United States Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. There is no greater obligation or responsibility of any government officer than to protect the rights of the people. Thus, any conduct contrary to the United States Constitution, Declaration of Independence, or the Bill of Rights will be dealt with as a criminal activity. Now, after I read that and I heard the interview, I contacted Sheriff Mack and I asked whether or not he might be interested in helping to promote action on the 15th, collective action on the 15th, which is really where my heart has always been, to do what we can to stand together regardless of what actions we take. So possible actions for the 15th can include making sure that your local sheriff has a copy of this resolution and encouraging them to sign that declaration and publicizing whether or not they follow through. It is also possible to ask for protection from the out-of-control federal governmental agencies such as the IRS to your sheriff, to ask for protection from the IRS in terms of paying taxes until a complete and thorough investigation of the history of the IRS has been completed, including the fact that the 16th Amendment was never properly ratified, and that in their own words they state that it is a voluntary tax. That's a possibility. I'm not telling people to do that. What I'm doing is throwing things out there so that hopefully we can decide on certain courses of action locally and begin to take our world and our country back. Now, there also is American Spring. I believe it's AmericanSpring.com, where, again, marches into Washington, D.C. are wanting to be promoted, and the arrest of some of the criminals in office, but this would involve millions of people and take a very long time, and you're free to look that up yourself, AmericanSpring.com. Check it out. Again, it's going out of our local areas into the District of Criminals, which, as we see from the past, has a total army just waiting to get rid of anyone who doesn't go along with the statutes from the federal government. So then I talked to my friend Clint Richardson, and as well as my husband, who's always been encouraging me to really focus on the boycott scenario. Now, in my personal opinion, and again, this is just my personal opinion, we've gone so far beyond trying to put a stick in the spokes that we need to overturn the whole cart. If more people truly understood what we are facing, they would see that nothing is more important than protecting themselves and their families, and the abuses of government are continuously being perpetrated upon the people. In any case, many people do not feel yet that they know enough or that they are able to step back from the system. Now, at times, I think that I should come up with something like a WTF day where we can all go, what the frack did you just tell me is going on? And step back from the brink at the same time in order to really look into some of the malfeasance that we're not paying attention to. That also, though, is a huge step. However, incrementally, when we begin to understand that these corporations own us and that we are forced under corporate law, which Deborah Tavares is going to be pointing out again and again, these are corporate laws. These are not lawful. These are legal manipulations. We are under economic conquest, but our money funds everything. So what can we do then to keep our money out of the system? Well, I watched a movie that affected me very much this week as well called Globesity. And a company that is profiting from the destruction of our world and our people is Nestle. And so I'm here tonight to encourage us to begin to look at these corporations and the damage they are causing, to think outside the box and to stand together and to begin to pull our money out and refuse to buy Nestle products. Okay, so Nestle is a corporation who is featured prominently in this movie Globesity, which is on the health video page at UnitedWeStrike.com. And I really want to encourage you to look into this, because Nestle is also a corporation headed by a CEO who wants to own the world's water. Nestle wants to privatize and own the world's water. And if we do not stand against this, then we will continue to have our water polluted and to have Nestle stepping up and profiting from it. The CEO is Peter Brabeck. He's from Corinthia. He's the head of Nestle, which is the largest foodstuff corporation in the world, with a turnover of around 90 billion Swiss francs, or $65 billion, and approximately 275,000 direct employees. They are the 27th largest company in the world. Okay, these words verbatim from an interview published on February 25th, 2013. Today, people believe that everything that comes from nature is good. That represents a huge change, because until recently, we always learned that nature could be pitiless. Man is now in the position of being able to provide some balance to nature, but in spite of this, we have something approaching a shibboleth, which is a term for, maybe a meme, that everything that comes from nature is good. Okay, again, back to his words. A good example is the organic movement. Organic is now best, but organic is not best. After 15 years of eating GM food products in the U.S., not one single case has occurred from eating them to date. Now, this is just out and out lies. There are so many cases of people being sick from eating genetically altered foods that I can't even begin to say how many numbers there are. But all of us have been eating genetically altered foods from the 80s, possibly even from before the 80s. Okay, so we go back to this CEO, head of Nestle Corporation. Okay, in spite of the fact that, we're uneasy, okay, with not one single case has occurred from eating them to date. So he says, in spite of this, we're all so uneasy about it in Europe that something might happen to us. It's hypocrisy more than anything else, and it most certainly is not. Animals prefer regular crops to genetically modified crops. They have to be sometimes forced to eat them because the other sources are not available. They have problems with fertility. Okay, but I'm going to go back to this head of the company of Nestle. He says that there's this lovely old Austrian folk song, "The dear cattle need water, hallara hallari," if you remember. Water is, of course, the most important raw material we have today in the world. It's a question of whether we should privatize the normal water supply for the population, and there are two different opinions on this matter. The one opinion, which I think is extreme, is represented by the NGOs who bang on about declaring water a public right. That means, as a human being, you should have a right to water. That's an extreme solution. And the other view says that water is a foodstuff like any other, and like any other foodstuff, it should have a market value. Personally, I believe it's better to give a foodstuff a value so that we're all aware that it has its price, and then that one should take specific measures for the part of the population that no access to this water. And there are many possibilities here. So they want to take specific measures for the part of the population that have no access to this water, with all the possibilities inherent there in order to profit. I'm just so outraged by this. We go on with this traitor to humanity's words. I'm still of the opinion that the biggest social responsibility of any CEO is to maintain and ensure the successful and profitable future of his enterprise. For only if we can ensure our continued long-term existence will we be in a position to actively participate in the solutions of the problems that exist in the world. We're being able to create jobs, 275,000 here, 1.2 million who are directly dependent upon us in principle. That makes about 4.5 million people in total, because behind each of our employees are another 3 people. So we have at least 4.5 million people who are directly dependent upon us. If you want to create work, you have to work yourself, not as it was in the past where existing work was distributed. If you remember, the main argument for the 35-hour week was that there was a certain amount of work and it would be better if we worked less and distributed the work amongst more people. That has proved quite clearly to be wrong. I'll be right back with the rest of this treasonous man's words as soon as we get to the other side. If you have a comment or question, 877-342-6673.
Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at Rense.com. Look for the New Earth banner at Rense.com.
Hi everyone, this is Jeff Rentz, and I'm here to tell you that there is a drug-resistant superbug perfect storm that is on a collision course with mankind. Infections that were previously treatable are returning with a vengeance. Yes, the rise of the superbugs is here, and we all have to take it very seriously. We're at the end of the age of antibiotic drugs, and drugs are quickly becoming increasingly irrelevant as bacteria and other microorganisms have learned to evolve and to outsmart them. But there is a solution. I've seen it firsthand, and I have used it with impressive success. You must obtain Carnivora. That's CARNIVORA.com. Carnivora was used successfully by the American president in 1985. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY. That's 1-866-VENUS-FLY. I'm urging you to give Carnivora a try. You must protect yourself and your loved ones now. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY today.
Scientists in England have succeeded in stabilizing the time-honored substance in garlic that destroys harmful bacteria, viruses, molds, yeast, and fungus. This all-natural microbe killer is called Allicin C, and it's now available to you in 100% vegetarian capsules only on the New Earth page at Rense.com. This powerful broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent is harmless to friendly bacteria and has been concentrated to equal an astonishing 35 cloves of garlic in each vegetarian capsule. Think about it. The antibacterial, antiviral strength of 35 odorless cloves of garlic in just one capsule. Allicin C is so effective it even destroys superbug MRSA in test after test. Allicin C is truly an incredible advance in natural medicine, and with the threats of bacterial and viral diseases and pandemics growing, no home should be without it. Learn more and order Allicin C on the New Earth page at Rense.com.
Well, if you were in Brazil, it would be a representative from Nestle knocking on your door, but I'll get to that in just a minute. So back to the CEO, the head CEO of Nestle. Quote, "We've never had it so good. We've never had so much money. We've never been so healthy. We've never lived as long as we do today. We have everything we want and still go around as if we were mourning for something." Okay, I don't know about you, but I am outraged that this man and his way of thinking is in charge of one of the largest corporations in the world who are destroying the health of people in the world. And now I'm going to go and jump to the film Globesity, which again, it's on the health page, or the health video page, or the video page. Go to the health tab. It is right there. And I will start off just commenting on some of the things that the film points out. And in the beginning, it does not talk about Nestle. It talks about another horrible company who is destroying our planet. This is a foreign correspondent film. Okay, now in third world countries, hunger used to be the #1 health concern. And in 2000, now no country has been able to avoid hunger without obesity problems rapidly rising. In the low and middle income countries from the sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa, the Middle East, and the Asian, Latin American countries, as well as India. In 1950, 700 million people were malnourished. In rich countries, 100 million were obese. In 2010, 800 million people were malnourished and 500 million were obese. It is predicted that by 2030, 1 billion will be obese and there still will be 800 million who are malnourished. Corporations have exported genetically altered food, the toxic fast food industry in poorer countries, and are now experiencing huge profits as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancers grow. The overweight champion of the world is now Mexico. In 1980, there was no problem with obesity. By 1999, 1/3 of the Mexican population was overweight. In 2006, 2/3 of the adult population was overweight and or obese. People are encouraged to eat more by being served large portions, and they underestimate the calories as well as the nutritional value or the lack of nutritional value. Some children who seem normal for the first few early childhood years rapidly begin to grow obese, suffering health consequences, low self-esteem, and ridicule. And some of the families still don't even realize that obesity is causing the health issues. In Mexico City, children, young people, young teenagers have radical stomach surgeries to reduce their weight, which is subsidized by the state. They pay $500 to $3,000, and then the state pays the rest, the city pays the rest, because they want to prevent other problems and think that this is a less expensive way, which doesn't make sense to me. But Mexicans are the fastest growing group of obese people in the world. And medical help and awareness diminishes the further away from the cities you get. Chiapas is Mexico's poorest state with a high indigenous population. Free Coca-Colas are given at events, and the children do not have water in schools, so they drink soft drinks. Babies have Coca-Cola in their bottles instead of milk formula. Not that I am advocating formulas for babies. Breastfeeding is always the best, but consider how many Coca-Colas their mothers are drinking, and you'll start to grasp the horror of this manufactured problem which benefits Coca-Cola at the expense of the people. When he was president, Vicente Fox, another traitor of humanity and a director of Coca-Cola, had a mutually satisfying contract that was created and remains to this day. They get Coca-Cola in schools because the principals make agreements for exclusive contracts and are paid with more bottles that they then sell individually in order to profit from. The Mexican government also banned unhealthy products in schools with mixed results, but Coca-Cola is still there. The average Mexican consumes more soft drinks per person than anywhere else on earth, a half liter a day of carbonated beverages equaling 14 cubes of sugar. Consumption of traditional foods is rapidly declining, and eating snack foods while drinking inexpensive soft drinks is growing to be a normal part of the diets. Foods that used to be treats are now commonplace, and many people eat like they're at a birthday party every day. Type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancers are on the rise, and most Mexicans will be malnourished as children and programmed for scarcity. When sugar and fats are readily available, the damage to their metabolism happens early, and some healthcare professionals believe that it's irreversible. I choose to believe that they are wrong there. However, it's overwhelming that the problem of obesity, of diabesity, of these type 2 diabetes and cancers are growing. So the food and drink companies in Mexico set the prices also in the communities differently in order so that all of the natives can afford to drink Coca-Cola. And water, of course, is more expensive. Diabetes is the primary cause of death in Mexico. Now, again, this is from Globesity. Let's jump to China. Obesity is now a bigger problem among the poor than the rich. From no overweight in 1990, now 1/3 of their population are overweight. There are live-in weight loss camps now where young people go in order to gain control over their weight issue, reduce their weight, and hopefully be able to have semi-normal lives. It's a huge problem there. And, it didn't happen until after World War II. Well, during World War II, a shortage of fats. And so scientists were looking for an alternative source of fats, and they created oils and cheap fats. And the average Chinese consumes now 400 grams of fat a day. 2 grams of sugar a day used to be consumed. Now so much is consumed in China that the government has a reserve on sugar as well as pork, worried that the prices will escalate. Whole foods, which are the solution, need to be intact, not fat and sugar mixed together. The sugar in fruits, the fat in meats are great, but not mixed. When they mix the two, they bring enormous pleasure. Chocolate, ice cream, cookies. So successful has this been in infiltrating the economy in China that now more than 380 million people are overweight or obese. Brazil. Studies show obesity growing by 1% a year. Now more than 50% of them are overweight and obese. The food system is similar to the U.S. and the U.K., and health issues are following. There is some help. There are disadvantaged children who are helped by a professional athlete, Fernanda Cala, but so many unhealthy foods are available that usually they're chosen first. Sugars, vegetable oils, starches with twice the density of energy of whole foods were originally complements to whole foods, and today it's just the crap that we're eating. In the 80s and accelerating in the 90s, the food system changed from small farmer markets and small stores to supermarkets. Not a single country now in the Americas is without supermarkets. And in China as well, supermarkets are a boon to the consumers, especially the junk food sales. It's accelerated the process of change of their diet to a high-fat, sodium-laden and sugary non-foods. From a profit of 15% in 1990 to a 60% profit in 2000, the supermarkets are here to stay. So, Nestle. Now, getting back to Nestle in Brazil. Back for more after this break. I knew there was a lot of info to share tonight. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so Nestle in Brazil pays people to sell snacks in the suburbs, door to door with new stock daily. They're taught that chocolate is a good source of energy. They have a special business model in emerging countries, a line of properly positioned products, junk food, in smaller packs, which is cheaper and fortified, they say, with some micronutrients, and promoted as good for undernutrition and good for children. These sales reps are trained by Nestle to provide nutritional information, copying real health experts, but these are just vendors who receive the beautiful materials and handouts to go around teaching lower-income families how to feed their children. And they're teaching them that here, buy Galax white chocolate, along with milk chocolate from the Swiss Alps. And they are aggressive at selling. There's a huge boat in the Amazon a Nestle boat that visits small villages to sell the products, and they are adapting to fill the needs, projecting a market of $8 billion for the crap they sell under the guise of healthy food for malnourished people. Kellogg's, Kraft, Nestle, McDonald's, Domino, Pepsi, all are reporting now profits from outside of America. Obesity-related illnesses cost the Brazilian health system approximately $2.1 billion a year. Okay, so now another word about Nestle's. Now this is from my friend Clint Richardson, and actually I'm going to be joining Clint in the next hour on RBN as we talk about the power of boycotts at Nestle Corporation and where some of that leads, which is to Zionism. That might surprise you. It did me. I didn't really think about it, I guess, before, but this is from Clint's research. Nestle, the Swiss company, owns 50.1% of Israeli food maker Awesome Investments. In December of 2000, Nestle announced that it will invest millions of dollars to operate the new R&D center in Israel. In 98, Mr. Peter Brabeck, this is the same man I'm talking about, the CEO of Nestle, he received the Jubilee Award by the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. This is the highest tribute ever awarded by the State of Israel in recognition of those individuals and organizations who through their investments and trade relationships have done the most to strengthen the Israeli economy. Think about that. As a matter of fact, why do we have dual citizens in the American government, and why are so many American children losing their lives due to the wars that the Zionisms are promoting? I am not talking about the Jewish people. I am talking about extremism. In this case, Zionism. And it's, what, is it a coincidence that so many heads of these big corporations have ties to Zionism? I don't think so. Anyway, Nestle products, according, again, going back to Clint's research, it's going to be difficult to boycott Nestle. L'Oreal products would have to stop being used. No more Kit Kats, Baby Ruths, Butterfingers, no Nesquik or Nescafe for breakfast, no sweets or cookies from Libby's, no Carnation products or any kind, no Buitoni oils, pastas, or sauces. Arrowhead, Poland Spring, Perrier, San Pellegrino, which is Perrier's competitor, Calistoga, which is also San Pellegrino's competitor, Crystal Geyser, Ice Mountain, Zephyr Hills, Ozarka, Pure Life, Pureza Vital, Deer Park, Aquapod, Nestle brand, and others. Essentially, all bottled water brands are Zionist Israel friendly. That's an interesting point. So, also, Nestle, I'm going to put this into the chat room. Nestle, here is a list where you can look for Nestle's products. And in the attempt, again, to unite us in humanity against the corporations, taking action at the same time will be more beneficial for all of us. So on the 15th, which is tomorrow, how about beginning to boycott all Nestle products right through to April 15th, where possibly you will choose to send some information to your local sheriff, to network with your neighbors. Best of all, in my opinion, completely break yourself out of the system. Step back and begin to improve your personal situation in your home for your family for an uncertain future. How would you feel if water were not available here except for extremely high prices and you were forced to give your babies Coca-Cola in their bottles? Think about that. It is absolutely a horrible proposition. However, it is what these corporations want. They think they own us. It's why they don't want you growing your own gardens. And it's why now it's so important with spring coming up to begin to grow your gardens, to stop buying foods off the shelf, and to really take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I healthy? Are my children healthy? Who am I living my life for? Do I even spend quality time with my children, or are they being so completely brainwashed by the school system and this push for Common Core that they are not going to have a clue as to what in reality is important. Clean air, clean water, healthy food, self-sufficient communities, and love. We've got to love ourselves, to forgive ourselves for being so badly fooled throughout our entire history. In my opinion, just about everything I learned growing up was a lie. And now, in World War III, and let's not pretend that we're not, as more and more of our young people are forced through the economic draft into joining one side or the other, becoming pawns in war, becoming pawns in political policy for people like Henry Kissinger and the Clinton and Bush crime cabal, it will continue until we stop it, until we refuse to go along with it. We outnumber them. At the very least, would it not be in our best interest to begin to drop the profit of this corporation who wants to own our water? I say yes. Now, I've got only a few minutes left. If you want to tell me what you think, and give me your ideas. The 15th is there because it's a monthly goal for people to grow and to try and shoot for educating more of their friends the following 15th, pulling more and more out on the 15th. But with the way the world is going, I don't care if it's the 1st or the 4th or the 10th. But it's going to be hitting the fan here sooner than later. We call ourselves civilized, yet allow the President of the Corporation of the United States to murder at will. He is a mass murderer. And yet our misrepresentatives stand behind it, and they give us reasons as to go to war. And the Israeli lobby, with their Zionist views, want to kill more of our children so that they can be God's chosen people. Well, why are there only one group of chosen people? You know, and why are they Jewish? My father, who was Catholic, would have told you they had the wrong idea. The Catholics were going to heaven. How about if right here and right now we stop looking to anything outside of ourselves to make it better while we are here? This is our chance in a three-dimensional reality to change ourselves, to change our thinking, to look around and wonder, why don't we have healthy food? Oh yeah, the government, Nestle, teaching their representatives to say, yeah, chocolate's a real good source of energy. Go for that. And instead of having an organic apple, which is hard to get anyway due to the pollution they're dropping from the sky. So this is why I'm back, because I look around the world and the trees don't have a voice. And when I watch the chemicals being dropped on them, when I listen to people who are sick, when I watch documentaries like Globesity, again, you can find it on the health page at UnitedWeStrike.com. When I listen to the marathon, the podcasts are available. I mean, we're being chipped without our knowledge or consent. We're being experimented on. Just like the black men in Tuskegee, who were given syphilis by the United States government so that they could be studied for the next 40 years without their knowledge or consent. Some of them died. And this is just the way governments go. Now we miss airplanes. What happened to that? Loren Murray says it is new technology with planes set up to react to the technology. Is that what happens? Do we forget about all these people who are being murdered daily? These innocent men, women, and children. The result of a drone from an accusation from a president of a corporation who turns his back on his own people. In my opinion, we outnumber them. And while peaceful noncompliance has its place, and we can begin to do that with Nestle, we also need to be armed and aware of movies like The Hunger Games, where the only reason that the parents did not save their children or step forward to prevent their children from having to join the games in order to be amusement and kill each other was because they weren't armed. We need to have well-armed, educated people who understand that moral stewardship of ourselves and our worlds can only come when we step up to the plate and begin to be accountable to ourselves, for ourselves, and then within our homes, within our families, to grow our own food, to make sure it's healthy, and to not be fooled into eating the crap that Nestle's pushing or Coca-Cola because they want profit above all as they wipe us off of this planet. Transhumanism is alive and well. but not many of us are. So now I want to talk to the baby boomers who are out there, the mothers who are out there, and everyone who believes that we deserve to have a healthy life and that we are here by a divine creation much bigger than all of us that connects us all as well. Recognize that within each other and step back and out of the matrix as much as you can. So begin to boycott Nestle. Start to feel better about that fact. Stand with the rest of us and refuse to be compromised. Think for yourselves. Don't buy, don't comply, ask why. Don't buy anything you don't research for yourself. Don't buy anything that they tell you, that the government tells you to believe. Don't buy the lie. Don't comply by keeping your money in the institutions that are defrauding us. Don't register your firearm. Don't be silent and ask why. Why are we here and what am I doing about it? Am I part of the problem or part of the solution? Do what you can to live your life to the fullest, because we don't know how long it will be that we will even be able to exist. When you look at Fukushima, Christina Consolo will talk about that the week after next. Next week, tune in Friday to hear Cindy Pikulis, who talks about the geoengineering that threatens us each and every day. We have huge problems here, and I don't know if we'll be able to get through them. But I have to try. I have to raise my voice and encourage us to unite, to be able to dig in and defend ourselves, and to start recognizing and calling a spade a spade. We have murderers and psychopaths running the world. All right, thanks very much for tuning in. Tune into the United We Strike Marathon, and power to the people through peaceful unity, through education. Watch obesity, and I'll see you here next month.